Beautiful Monday coming at you guys from the Parker Chiropractic Seminars. We're going to be having a fantastic episode today, bringing on Nessa from Nessa's Hemp, talking about Alzheimer's. We're also going to be bringing on Clayton Thomas, the founder of the Root Brands and the man who would be willing to take a baseball bat to crush apart Lyme's disease and cancer that's spreading across this country. Absolutely fantastic, and Maha Mike is going to dig in.
Welcome to Self Wellness.
The guy who thinks that he is the godfather of information, Mr. Ouchie Fauci, we're going to roll a quick clip about him. Go ahead, roll that clip for me.
Is that there's a distinct anti-science flavor to this. So if they get up and criticize science, nobody's going to know what they're talking about. But if they get up and really aim their bullets at Tony Fauci, well, people could recognize there's a person there, there's a face, there's a voice you can recognize, you see him on television. So it's easy to criticize, but they're really criticizing science because I represent science.
Now let's dive deep into it and get Nessa's opinions on CBDA and Alzheimer's, and even more importantly, the vaccines.
What they really did, they wanted to see how people are going to react under one shot and how hard they need to push the second and third and fourth, right? So the first one was kind of experimental for all of us. And then wanted to see how everybody's reacting and everybody's doing, because you can't just go and kill everybody on the first shot. I mean, we're going to have a crisis. We're literally going to have, that's not the agenda they had in the first place, right? So what I'm saying is, and the second shot was definitely the damaging one. Third and fourth basically took your life away. Just was matter of the time how long you're gonna get destroyed. But the most important, what I really understood from the day one, before these shots were even rolled out, and I was telling this, and thank goodness I posted on my Facebook. I don't know if God deleted or not, but I posted this right before the COVID shots even came on the market. I said this one thing: they're gonna give us something. And that something is going to be some kind of type of injection, and it's going to trigger each human body differently. Because when each person has a different outcome, you can correlate and push everything towards the same problem, which is a COVID vaccine. So as the shots did came on the market and we started vaccinating all these people, what I noticed, and I start tracking the data and looking how the patients are reacting, what's going on. Let's say if you've been prior over your history and you're over the years more like weak on your heart, or maybe your weakness, maybe you had more like in your brain, or you're about to trigger Alzheimer's maybe in 10 years from now. So these COVID vaccines, I believe not the first one, but definitely the second one. The first one, it pushed the trigger, but it's not complete. It didn't completely, what I say, kill the person. But the second one, for a fact, what I noticed, what they did is it triggered for each person differently. If somebody had like a underlying slowly growing a colon problem, or like a diabetes or cancer somewhere growing slowly, that means it might take you another 10 years or 20 years to get that cancer. But these COVID vaccines, they put these areas, what we call inflammation, on the fire, and made your actually that area specifically that you weaken to, whatever your history is from your past, it fired you up, and you, as a result, you became whatever disease you got. People are right now having ALS. I mean, we have MS all over the place. We have Lyme disorders all over the place. I mean, we have so much stuff right now. It's not even funny. Turbo cancers, it's this new terminology. It is a new thing that those turbo cancers terminology never even existed. Right now, when you get a cancer, you literally die within 6 months. And again, I'm talking about the ones are getting those vaccines, and I'm talking about especially shot 2, 3, and the boosters. So you see how they did it, right? They didn't really give everybody the same disease. They gave something that triggered for each person differently based on their history in their body and based on their history in their life. So each person they do have something in common, but at the same time, they all trigger different disease. So now we can't go and say vaccines done these damages for us because each person has a different symptom.
Wow.
Arthritis is a big
It's
thing.
just
Arthritis, it's like some people are, for example, if you got a COVID booster, let's say Pfizer, you just got a shot one and then you got shot two and you got two boosters. For somebody, it will trigger the Alzheimer's to go like on steroids. And for somebody, it's actually going to trigger their ALS. You see, because they growing that in their body for the last 30 years, 40 years. But again, for your body to mutate and become that version of whatever disease you're going to have is going to take another 25 years. Or maybe you're going to fix your lifestyle and then you're never going to get that disease in the first place. You're going to stop the mutation. So these triggers happen for each person differently. So nobody can suspect the shot because everybody got the same shot, but they all triggered a different disease. Yes, the most common one, we have turbo cancers. That is definitely the most common one, which is, in my opinion, nothing but parasites and fungicides coated and mutated in the biofilms and the metals. But at the end of the day, we have this very sneaky way to bring this agenda to all of us. And I knew this before it even happened. I literally wrote this to my friends, to families, and he called me crazy. But at this point, it's like, what are you gonna do?
right. You can only be right so many times before, you've hit the nail completely on the head. So before we move, before we move too far off topic, I want to ask you your professional opinion with, specifically the CBDA strand and inflammation, which we know that most disease in the body, if not all of it, starts as inflammation in the body. Yes, the vaccines you obviously have pointed towards they are causing turbo cancers. What about inflammation and relief? So when people are taking CBDA, specifically people who have a lot of inflammation in the brain, what kind of relief are your patients reporting, or what have you been able to track, that is so beneficial about CBDA because it is popping up. And I know that with your hemp, it all starts with, the soil, from soil to oil, as you say it.
100%. And again, I know I'm going to sound really bad right now, but are we talking about the biological human beings that are still God's given version of the human body? Or are we talking the ones that are full of loaded with nanotechnology in the vaccines, which just comes from those vaccines, right? So we have two versions of human beings on this planet right now walking. So are we talking of the same biological being, or are we talking about the one that has been re-engineered through these COVID vaccines? So those two different species, they both react differently. To be honest with you, as I said, like I've been very successful in Alzheimer treatments for many, many years now. We never lost a case. We converted, we helped to improve, not even improve. We return people back to their normal stages for years and years now. But you know what? I received the first case last year, and the person has been double shotted, triple boosted. He came to me in extremely advanced case. I gave him the most advanced treatments that we could possibly give it to him, and nothing worked on him. I never seen in my whole life giving the most advanced, the most promising treatments that normally triggers human body in less than 48 hours, and you start seeing improvements in less than 7 days, no matter how bad your Alzheimer's is. This person, we spent tens of thousands of dollars. We did whatever it takes. Family was willing to do whatever it takes, and the person did not react a bit. And this is double
Wow.
shotted boost it. So again, when you say how the CBDA works, depends which body. Are we talking about regular human body, the biological one, or the one that's been re-engineered recently and mutated to, I don't know what they're mutating us to, right? So, but in general, what we need to understand about CBD and inflammation is what is endocannabinoid system is your number one and the main switch, okay, in the human body. When I say switch, I'm talking about switch for your inflammation, for your immunity, for your cells to communicate. It's actually your neuroprotector. That means it protects your neurons. It helps your brain cells to communicate, pulls the inflammation out of your body, and allows everything to connect and heal anywhere from your toes all the way to your scalp and your actual hair follicles. I'm talking about every part in your body depends on the main switch. It's called endocannabinoid system. So that main switch regulates trillions of functions in a human body. So what that switch is, it's endocannabinoid system. And the best way to empower that is actually NASA's hemp oil, only because it mimics exact same cannabinoids as are in the human body, not the ones are synthetically published and pushed actually on the market in those gas stations and CBD stores. Those are drugs. Sadly, they did another agenda on this plant. So, with that being said, we have evidence to show how the people are super inflamed, reduce their inflammation in less than 24 hours, 48 hours, just by taking a one simple product like this. But keep in mind, again, this is not just a product that removes your inflammation. I get really sensitive when people say that if it's going to help my inflammation, if it's going to help my vision, you can't, there is no you, there's no you being even alive on this earth unless your endocannabinoid system functions. If your endocannabinoid system doesn't function, you are dead. There's no you, there's no life. It's the main switch, it's the main mechanism in the body that controls and regulates every single most important processes in a human body, including inflammation. And yes, it has been known as very, very big anti-inflammatory product. But with that being said, it's way more than that. So I get very, very protective when it comes to endocannabinoid system, and I tell people all the time, you don't fix inflammation, you fix the system.
Yeah, that's and then we've seen so many people that have abused, the CBD industry by taking things that, don't have potent blends or people that water down their product. That's why it's so important to make sure that you're getting your hemp from a reliable source. And Nessa, I think to see the passion that you have for your product, my favorite photo is the one where you're like there at the farm and you're like hugging the plant. Like you can just tell the connection that you have. um, and then another thing that a lot of people in the audience do want to know is, can you please let people know that they're not going to affect, their ability to communicate, and that when you're taking CBDA properly, it doesn't have the same effects as marijuana, right? So clarify on that. That, like you said, this is not a drug. This is a healing, living oil, and when it's used properly, you're not going to have those kind of CBD side effects you would get when you buy gas station CBD.
I want to say this is not just a healing oil, this is something that your body already makes inside. So you cannot get the high or drugged by your own self. It's almost the same thing as yourself. It's in that bottle that we sell, there's nothing outside your body. You make that. It's just like you produce the vitamin D, you produce your minerals, you have oxygen, you have water inside your body. Your body is made from water. Your body is made from these cannabinoids. And we actually have a new research came out, and I just saw it recently. They think the mother's breast milk is loaded with cannabinoids. It's what is the mother's breast milk? So, okay, it's very simple. We have what we sell specifically that I develop for my patients, myself included, and everybody else, make sure we have what's needed, is essential to our bodies. We have this pure version of cannabinoids. What are those cannabinoids? You make it in your body. You stop making them as you get stressed, as you expose yourself to all kinds of type of toxic environments, and you eat bad foods, you drink alcohol, and all those things that happen to you, right? So you start losing that production. But now we're saying there's a research, like, there's cannabinoids in the mother's breast milk. There's more cannabinoids in the mother's breast milk than anything else. Wait a minute. Did we actually know from even the old times? I know that now Bill Gates wants everybody to be on a baby formula that's full of actual mercury and aluminum. But in old days, when where I grew up and my parents raised me, I was told that mother's breast milk is the most valuable thing for the baby. What is the mother in the mother's breast milk? Is that cannabinoid? That means you empowering the baby's main switch in the human body to be strong, super high immunity, high IQ. What we selling in these bottles to you? We selling you the same cannabinoid, or is almost the same cannabinoid as in your mother's breast milk, as the one your body makes it. Yes, you've been deceived by the industry, and I'm very, very sorry about that. My COO, she's an incredible woman, and she's coming from CBD industry. She literally, we just had a dinner last night. She told me this. Inessa, you understand, I've been in the cannabis industry for a very long time. I developed my own products. I worked with manufacturers. I don't understand how your product took care of my asthma after a couple days of taking it. I used to be on inhalers every day, all day long. I couldn't walk without inhaler. This is the COO of my company. The woman just literally joined our company. She's an incredible human being. She literally flies from California and Chicago to do the audits, work in manufacturer with me and all and above, because she loves the company so much, and because she sees the potential, because she's coming from the cannabis industry. And she says, yes, I understand this is all snake oil. I understand there's a lot of misguidance. I understand, but as according to her, and that's her words as of last night, she said, Inessa, I worked with high quality, incredible products. They never took care of my asthma. From the moment I took your bottle, my asthma was gone within a couple days. And for us in the family, it's genetic. My whole family is full of asthma. So how do you like? Because we created exact same, we mimicked this same compound, and your body makes it. So please don't ever think that is not good for you. Again, I'm not talking about every other product in the market. I'm talking about specifically Nessa's oil here right now, Nessa's hemp. So yes, it's good for you. It's healthy for you. It's not going to make you high. It's not going to mess up your life. It's going to do only one, and the most important thing is going to support overall your health in trillions ways, every millisecond per day, as you living your life, as you sleeping, as you eating, as you driving, is going to do nothing but protect you, heal you, and protect you from getting disease. I mean, it's the main switch in the human body, is that endocannabinoid system.
Incredible. Incredible. Is there anything else that you want to leave with the audience and let them know exactly, dosing wise, or is each person going to be able to figure out how much they should be taking? Um, Sublingual, underneath the tongue, 10 drops, 20 drops.
Since it is the biological product, it is not a drug, because drugs, they're meant to, like, we will knock you down from the moment you take 20 milligrams of this. um, it is it is biological product, and it does work on every single human being. We have a suggested dose that is actually on our labels, but I tell people all the time, if you think the product is not working or not giving you an effect, first of all, you always give it 3 months, right? Number one. Number two, make sure you adjust a dose. Make sure you play with the dose, because some people still have some of cannabinoids left in their bodies. Some people need more. each person runs on different engine. So I don't know how much is left in your engine, I don't know how much. So you need to take until you truly feel, okay, I feel calmer. Okay, I feel like there's a changes in my life. I feel like I feel like I'm lighter. Like even your brain and your thought process gonna start change. You're gonna become more like clear on decision making in your life. You're gonna be happier. Not because we're gonna give you that euphoria, it's because it's gonna take that nasty inflammation away, all this dark energy out of your body, and is going to actually try to push it out. As a result, you might poop a little bit more. You might be a bathroom visitor instead once per day, twice a day, or 3 times a day, right? So what it really does, it balances you so much to the point where we can't tell you exact how much for you to take. One thing the best to do is to truly play with the dose. I personally love to take half dropper in the morning and a full or even 2 droppers at night, but I love very intense lifestyle. Again, not probably everybody's like me. So full dropper at night, half in the morning, I think it's pretty good way to start. But also keep in mind, if you don't shake the bottle well, that's going to affect your effectiveness. Make sure you shake that bottle well. That bottle's never been activated. So you activate this product yourself by shaking it and by putting in your mouth. Hold under the tongue for actually a minute or two. Longer you're going to hold, better you will absorb. And also you're going to help to remove inflammation from your gums, which is your every single tube in your mouth is connected to your brain. So now if you heal those gums, you heal the brain. It's that simple. Since you're already putting this in your body, why don't you hold for another 2 extra minutes so you truly heal your gums as you heal your brain? It's no brainer. And I tell people all the time, people say, Nasa, sometimes I forget. It's very easy. I'm sure you brush your teeth twice a day. Just put next to the toothbrush. Every time you brush your teeth, just put your oil next to the cup where you brush your teeth, and every time you do it twice a day, you do the oil twice a day. It's very simple. It's not a complicated process.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And one more time, can you give everybody your website so they know where to go, how to reach out to you?
Nessa's Hemp, which is NESAS, nessashemp.com. It's the best way. We have incredible support team. If you guys have any questions, even if someone is interested in specific research for their family members or something like that, and they're questioning a product, please send us a request. Can you please pull some research and show me would help with this or would help with that? We are so there to support you in any way we can. Again, this is a God's given gift to every single one of us. And even when I find out it's in the mother's breast milk, like that's mother's breast milk is loaded with these cannabinoids, everything starts clicking so much together where it's like, oh my gosh, you can't make the stuff up. So yes, don't be afraid, because fear comes from the devil. Fear comes from the dark. That's how they control us. I understand the market is very messed up, but it's been designed for a reason. And that's why I have people who is like myself and a couple other great players in the industry who's trying the best they can to bring something what's good for humanity. So don't
Oh
be
man,
afraid.
that's absolutely, that's incredible, Nessa. Thank you so much. Speaking of zeroing in, we're going to zero in on my next guest, Clayton Thomas, and Nessa. We're gonna enjoy having you back on the show again and hear more about your incredible results you're getting with your patients and what you're doing with CBDA. Thank you so much for being here, and bye bye for now.
God bless.
Thank you so much. All right, Drake, run us to a quick commercial break, and then I can't wait anymore. I've got to talk to the man, the myth, the legend, Clayton Thomas, the co-founder of the Root Brands, coming up next on Maha with Mike.
Are you looking for monthly income without the risk of stocks? Well, here's something you won't hear about on CNBC. There's a unique way to collect royalty checks directly from America's most productive oil fields. No exploring, drilling, or operational headaches. You simply collect checks month after month. The best part? You can get started with just $25 through any brokerage account. The Oxford Club's chief income strategist, Mark Litchenfield, breaks down what he believes is the #1 oilty royal play for 2025. So visit LindellOilBoom.com now to learn more. That's LindellOilBoom.com. That's LindellOilBoom.com now to learn more. That's LindellOilBoom.com. Stop buying oil stocks and start collecting oil royalty checks instead.
I'm going to fill this box here and I'm going to try to replicate the indoor environment that most people face anywhere in the world today. The more energy efficient that we become, the more airtight that we make our houses, the more toxic it is for our environment. Our technology is vibrating the air at a rate of speed. Anything that is 0.001 microns or larger does not stand a chance in the presence of not only photocatalytic oxidation, but needlepoint negative ionization. We're sending out an ion wave that is going through walls, doors, floors, carpets, paddings, draperies, and it's synergistically vibrating the air, and it's going to drop it down to the ground as a biologically inert substance. Now, this is where you're going to come in. You can mop this matter, you can vacuum it, you can sweep it, but our technology is going to make sure that you're not continuously breathing this in.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
It's no wonder that the country is sick, right? No wonder. You're watching Maha with Mike. Everybody wants to know, how do we get healthy? How do we get better? The next guy that I'm going to be bringing on has made it his life's mission to take a baseball bat with nutrition and beat up Lyme disease, cancer, anything that you can imagine. And he'll tell you that it is the body itself that does most of the healing, if not all of it. But sometimes our bodies need a little bit of help. So without any further ado, Clayton Thomas, welcome to Maha with Mike.
What's up, brother? It's been too long.
Hey,
And
I
you know
know,
what?
man. I know, man. Listen,
I appreciate that you said a baseball bat, because some people might accuse me of using a crowbar. So it's a good deal.
yeah, I think that, where I'm at, Clayton, is before we get too far into your products, I want to give a disclaimer for everybody out there. 30N is not enough. 5 is too many for me. I know there's been times, but I'll tell you, man, the casinos do not want you playing blackjack if you've had 50N.
It's an interesting thing of, the symbolism that's been put out there for people to understand the power of dopamine and serotonin, in different movies and such, and how things are banned substances in sports because of what they can do for boosting neurotransmitter production, or the use of some neurotransmitters like dopamine. But being able to endogenously and naturally feed your gut and top up the fuel tank, I guess you could say, to give your body what it needs to produce all the dopamine and serotonin you want naturally, and then let your intention control it. It's a weapon of performance that people should experience, but many choose not to yet. They're not aware.
Yeah, I was talking to quite a few chiropractors yesterday about 0N and about, being able to stay completely focused and attention to detail using, nootropics. And I'll tell you, it's a game changer when you give somebody something that's a little bit different, as far as products go, and without the nasty side effects, right? There's half this country who's got ADD or ADHD. That you got these docs that are giving them, things like Adderall, and they have horrible side effects. And not to mention, I don't want to just focus on zero N because you guys have a whole slew of products. I always like to give credit where credit is due. And I think my favorite thing about you is when you talk about your wife and her accolades and everything she's done. So, obviously you have the heart, and I know that you grew up in the industry. Yeah, there she is, the beautiful queen. Could you please talk about maybe just a little bit about her background? And I know for a fact that your wife knows that Anthony Fauci is a POS, right? We don't curse on my show because this is a family friendly show, and it goes to the ends of the earth. Could we talk very quickly just about her medical background and what kind of drove her and you to get to where you guys are to solving the world's problems?
Well, first, it's prophetic. She was self-actualized and can remember sitting on God's lap when she was 5 years old. There was a prophecy put over her about 25 years ago that she was put here to heal people in a war on healthcare. And you can see that in her background. She had Lyme disease when she was 19 and lost her memory. She grew up with a photographic memory, won National History Day in middle school. But she's had a brain tumor, a spine tumor, every kind of skin cancer you could ask for, lost kids to cancer. Our 20-year-old had cancer when he was 2 years old. And she's taking care of all of that. But she was 20 years in biotech, has 6 doctorates, and so a master's in science, 3 PhDs, a PsyD, an EDD, an MD, Harvard postdoc in nanotechnology and bioscience engineering, 2 from Cornell in pharmaceutical management and nutritional counseling. She's a former adjunct professor in oncology and hematology at Johns Hopkins. And she's one of very few people, well, I'll tell you, she's the only person in the world that actually worked at Bristol Myers Squibb 20 plus years ago on HIV research with the first mRNA vaccines when they were being tested and introduced, that knows all the data, knows the mechanisms of action, knows everything that they do. And through her journey, when she was at Harvard from 2018 to 2020 to get caught up on some of the advancements in nanotechnology and bioscience engineering, because she knew this was coming. This has been predicted and outlined by companies like Pfizer for about 30 years. And she wanted to make sure that she could put the mechanisms together to reverse what was being done. And the cool part is that's kind of what we launched in February of 2020. And so in a world where many people are working off of misinformation, if you don't know and you haven't been there, and I mean really been there when it comes to research, working at the highest levels of medical and clinical science in biotech, if you haven't been there, you shouldn't be speaking right now, honestly, and because you really don't know. And I think that's a big part. Is there's a lot of people that are using language and using terms that they don't understand. They don't understand mechanisms of action. They don't understand really what's going on, and they're promoting false information and false therapeutics for an approach to make money. And you can see that across the board, unfortunately. But with what Christina's done, because of her background in understanding every aspect of bioscience engineering when it comes to the human body, is you have a couple things that are really important to understand. You have to have the quality of ingredients. You have to have the right quantity of ingredients, and then you have to have the right combination of ingredients to do different things in the human body. That's why Zero N does what it does. It's an adaptogenic nootropic that's never been on the market before and has no comparable product in its category, because it is a complete adaptogen. It'll help you function during the day, but it'll help you sleep at night. And being able to address the aspects of systemic detoxification, taking care of the gut, taking care of neurotransmission, taking care of the aspects of regulating insulin, blocking sugar, allowing IGF-1 to function the way it's supposed to, so your body can add or maintain muscle while losing fat. all of these mechanisms have been built by a bioscience engineer in one specific pathway that you can use, because the key in this world is not trying to piece together different things that different companies are promoting, but having an entire series of solutions that are all done by the same savant that understands how to stack not just ingredients, but stacking products so they're working with the body to allow this mechanism, the physical, the psychological, the spiritual, and the emotional, to all connect to allow us to become what we've been created to, which is in the image of greatness.
So I'm gonna have you talk a little bit on what it was I took yesterday. That clean spirits. What was I experiencing yesterday at
Bro,
my booth? Did I have a connection with the creator?
it's interesting because we launched it last year. The patents were issued last year, which is, if you understand patent science, you know that it takes a little bit to get a patent approved. It's not something that you
Yep.
submit and next week they say, okay, we've reviewed this, we've compared it, and here's your patent. But the patents were issued last year on clean spirits, and what this is it's a sibling to clean slate, but it's specifically formulated to really focus on liver detoxification. It's patented already. Let me see if I can pull it up on my phone so I'm not blowing smoke while we're live. But it's patented to improve liver detoxification and the metabolism of alcohol, even while you're drinking. So you can add this into an alcoholic beverage, and it's going to allow your liver to process the acetaldehyde from the alcohol really quickly. If you've got liver toxicity of any aspect, which we all do, whether you've had a history of using like opioids or other chemicals, or if you've smoked cannabis or used cannabis, because that builds up in your liver, that's why your tolerance goes up, or alcohol or other substances, you might have some issues with cirrhosis. You might have issues with a non-alcoholic fatty liver, which is one of the biggest issues that we're facing in our society in the United States because of how toxic we are. You now have kids, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids that have fatty livers because of how polluted we are. And then you have the alcoholic fatty livers and the toxic fatty livers. This is already patented and proven to detoxify the liver, and this stuff does it in a manner that we've never seen before. And you can see if I can do this right, if it'll adjust on camera. Let me
Yeah, go a little bit closer.
there. So patent number 118966008. You can look that up. So the big thing in this is she's done things that scientifically have never been done before. And the hard part for us, especially me from a business standpoint, is in a world where companies focus on one product and they just want to promote one product and be like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. You have to get this, and don't worry about anything else, but just get this one thing because it's really cool. She's built the series to make sure that you're addressing every aspect of human health and performance. Like clean spirits, it's one that if we have someone that's just getting acclimated into the Rootverse, like if they're a new customer, I tell people, and we continually tell people, don't start on clean spirits until you've used clean slate for at least a month, because your liver will go into detoxification hyperdrive, and it's phenomenal, but you will have an experience, and it could be glorious.
That's incredible. Could you also talk a little bit? I don't know if you guys are still doing it, but because it's fresh in everybody's brain, we just had a CBD expert that was formulate some CBDA. You guys at one point, weren't you guys doing testing where you could actually see inside of the human body within the endocannabinoid system which specific strain of cannabis would work better for a human being? Are you guys still involved in that?
Well, on our website, it took a couple of years of working with our lab to develop the assays, but we have, I think, the only genetic test, or one of few few genetic tests for people that will give you a panel on how you metabolize cannabis as well as CBD, right? So the big
Wow.
thing if you don't understand yourself, you're not going to make any determinations for your health, and you're not going to be able to make the right decisions, right? How should you eat? Well, genetically, you're predisposed to have a specific diet. How should you exercise? Genetically, you're built to be able to exercise a specific way. How much sleep do you need? Well, genetically, each of us may need different amounts of sleep. How do you metabolize cannabis? How do you metabolize CBD? I know, based on my genetics, because I've had my testing done, I'm a rapid metabolizer of cannabis and CBD, right? And I know how it affects me from an addiction standpoint. I know how cannabis affects me from an anxiety standpoint, because if you didn't know that cannabis can cause anxiety, regardless of the type, and you start using it and and you have a higher risk of anxiety when you use it, and it has a higher risk of prolonged use, and you have an addiction risk, well, if you start using something because your friends or someone tells you it's popular and it's going to have those effects on you, that's probably not going to be a desired outcome. So if you don't know yourself, you can't ever make the determinations that are really necessary to treat thyself. And it's one of the greatest philosophical quotes. I don't remember if it was Socrates that said it, but first, know thyself, right? You have to understand your own genetics. You have to understand how God made and intended you to function in this world. And then when you have that data, you only do it one time. You know your personal playbook. And then when you have your playbook, then you can make your determinations in accordance with how you function and how you perform. And then when you understand that, then you can start playing with epigenetics. But you can't tweak anything in your life, in your health and your functionality without actually knowing yourself, because you're probably going to be off, right? I know for me, which is interesting, my friends, my family, everyone that knows me knows that I can eat more than anybody else around. I've been able to do this since I was a kid, right? I won eating competitions, as a kid, because I could just consume massive amounts of food. Well, now I know genetically that my genetic marker for satiety isn't on. It's off. So I can go goldfish whenever I want. I don't get full. And so if I know that I'm a hyper metabolizer of cannabis and my satiety gene is off, and some types of cannabis make food taste better, and I also like to eat different things, if I'm not conscious of my own self, I might binge on things that are not ideal based on decisions I'm making, maybe to relax or just be more smooth at some point on a weekend or in an evening. If I'm not aware of who I am and I don't have the data of myself, I might make poor decisions. But as we learned by watching G.I. Joe as a kid, knowing is half the battle. And so if you've got the data, then you can make determinations. And if you've got the data on yourself, you're not going to fall prey to a lot of marketing, right? You're not going to fall prey to the latest fad diet. You're not going to fall prey to the latest exercise, fad. You're not going to fall prey to someone pitching specific supplements, right? It's a matter of understanding what's been put here and how you specifically need to use them. And with that information, you can be very, very effective in taking care of yourself, because this whole Make America Healthy Again movement doesn't have a .gov at the end of it. It's your choice. It's always been your choice. That's the beautiful aspect of what God gave us and put us here. We're given free will. This whole thing's a test, right? Are you going to do what you've been made to do, which is be responsible first for one, yourself. And then once you take care of yourself, are you going to serve others? But you can't be of service to others until you've taken care of yourself. And so, and if you don't know you, how can you take care of you? And if you're a parent, if you don't know your kids, this is one of the coolest things. You can swab your kids one time. You'll know how to feed them. You'll know how they need to exercise. You'll probably know the activities that they're best suited for. So if you're looking at putting them in sports, you're going to know based on their personality, based on their genetics, their metabolism, how you feed them, what sports are going to be most ideal for them, what exercises are going to be most ideal for them, how much sleep they're going to need. Like me, I need 8 hours of sleep every night. And I have to plan accordingly for that, because if I don't get that, my productivity drops pretty significantly. There are other people that can function on less sleep. I'm not one of them, right? So you have to plan accordingly. But if you have that data on your kids, it'll change your life. It'll change their life, because they're going to know specifically what they need to do the rest of their lives, because they have their own personal playbook. And you have something that makes the recommendations within it. So you've got the tools, you've got the opportunity. The question is, are you going to use them?
Yeah, you guys take 4-0 in, and I promise you're going to know thyself. You will know thyself with 4-0 in. I do want to bring up something real quick and have you touch on this, Clayton. When I was talking with General Flynn, at the Reawaken tour, I had told him that one of the first lines of defense, for most people is to have a good communication system, which is why the enemy usually wants to take out your communications or your comms so you can't call in reinforcements. I think that the calcification of the pineal gland is one of the biggest tragedies that's happened in human health. Also, because fluoride is known to displace iodine, which is why most of the world is iodine deficient, because we're bathing, showering, and drinking fluoride. Can you talk about Clean Slate and what that product's role is specifically to communicating and helping with your pineal gland, which is your third eye?
Well, I'm going to take that, and I'm going to go one step further with 0 in and why it's so important in this process as well. But your pineal gland is calcified, and because it's been calcified, it has shrunk from what God's made us to be initially. And what's important to understand in this is your pineal gland is like the top of your antenna. Good thing I didn't make that look like any symbolism people find to be offensive. But your pineal gland is the primary source of your antenna that connects to the light source. Now, spiritually, it connects us to light. Your circadian rhythm is controlled through your pineal gland. And you hear everyone talk about fluoride and the calcification of the pineal gland. That's one piece to it. You have to understand also that inside your pineal gland are a bunch of little crystals. And it's those crystals that are the resonator with light, whether it's light from above or light from our environment with sun and lack of sun and moon that controls your circadian rhythm. So the interesting benefits of what Clean Slate does is it's one, decalcifying the pineal gland and removing the heavy metals and the rest of the environmental toxins from your entire body. But it's also providing the trace minerals and the bioavailable silica. Now, the beautiful part of science is we know how valuable silica is because it's silica that's used to make microchips. And we know that if we don't have silica to make new microchips or faster microchips, our computer processors and phones don't run as fast. Well, your pineal gland, your brain, and your body are actually built the same way. We need bioavailable silica. The best source of orthosilicic acid or bioavailable silica actually comes from the crystal that we use to make Clean Slate. So you've got a mechanism that is doing every aspect needed to support ideal pineal gland function. But your pineal gland needs a couple things that are crucial to do what it's made to do. That actually comes from your gut. Happens to be dopamine and serotonin. So the interesting aspect of what Zero In is doing for supporting gut, heart, pineal gland, and brain health is through the endogenous production of dopamine and serotonin. Depending upon what time of day and what it is you're doing, you're going to have more focus, you're going to be relaxed, you're going to crush workouts, you're going to crush life. But as the sun starts to go down, as your body shifts into rest and recovery mode, you'll shift from more dopamine to less dopamine, more serotonin. Now there's a cool chemical reaction, an energetic reaction that takes place in this. The serotonin will go to your pineal gland. Your pineal gland will convert serotonin into melatonin. You don't need a gummy for this. You're actually screwing up your system by using melatonin as a supplement. What you need to do is allow your body to do its natural mechanisms to produce this. Now here's the crazy part. If you have the ability to produce additional serotonin on top of what your pineal gland will convert into melatonin, additional serotonin will convert into DMT. Don't need mushrooms. That production of DMT will get you into deep REM sleep. Now you've heard that deep REM sleep is crucial in recovery, but getting into deep REM sleep is what activates your glymphatic system. Your glymphatic system is the extension of lymph that washes your brain at night, that flushes out all of the toxicity, from the day. And if you do this continually, is what allows your brain to detoxify itself with that glymphatic fluid. And it's got some crystals from a little clean slate in there that allows things to be flushed out, and then you pee it out in the morning. If you're not getting into deep REM sleep consistently with the time that's necessary, and now we know genetically how much you're going to need, you're never going to recover. Now, these conversations that have gone on over the last couple of years about, Alzheimer's, dementia, mental issues, being diabetes type 3, that's all a lie. What it is a buildup of neurotoxicants that's creating that tau buildup, that's creating all of the disruption. And those same toxins, mercury, cadmium, arsenic, lead, aluminum, cesium, strontium, gadolinium, glyphosate, PBEs, PCBs, PBDEs, PFAS, this whole host of other chemicals and pollutants, all of these are what's causing our problems. Mercury alone is the one that disrupts every system, and I mean every single system of the human body. And that substance will amplify the negative effects of all of these other chemicals and toxins that are in our systems that create the cascade of symptomology that your doctor is going to give you a diagnosis for. It could be autism, it could be Alzheimer's, it could be insulin resistance or metabolic dysfunction, it's going to be obesity, it's going to be anything else that they want to diagnose you with, because all they're looking at is a progression of symptomology that corresponds to what they've been taught in school to diagnose based on a group of symptoms. And based on that group of symptoms and the diagnosis that they're taught to give you, they're going to prescribe medications from a maintenance standpoint for those things, which, because of the delivery mechanism of those synthetic petroleum-based or other biologics, are going to create a cascade of other symptomology. Because of the toxicity that's in your system, you're going to go through a cascade process that you become very profitable for a system that you probably disagree with.
That's incredible, Clayton. Well, I'm gonna have to have you come back on, because we didn't even get, and today's a wrap, but we're gonna have you come on, because this country is so fat, we are so obese, and people who want to really, really make an impact, you're gonna have to come back on so we can talk about Sculpt and Crush, the new products that are absolutely helping people to slay and shed pounds. In closing, I want to make sure everybody does understand, I 100% am an affiliate for this company. Clayton did not come on to promote products. He came on to promote wellness. If you guys want to check out the products, therootbrands.com/detox561, or if you guys go on the website, you can ask any questions you want. They've got all the stuff below. Clayton, thank you so much for coming on, and we look forward to continuing creating greatness with you and the Root Brands company.
Cheers, brother. I look forward to coming back and hanging out because I miss you.
I miss you too, buddy. That's been another episode of Maha with Mike. Thank you guys. We love you. And I will see you guys next Monday.